Hey everybody, in this video we're going to take a look at setting up Gate Nouveau to work in synchronization with your DAW. Now this is certainly a very cool thing, and as I was developing Gate Nouveau, this is exactly one of the use cases that I had in mind. There's really only a couple of things that you need to do. I'm going to go ahead and walk through them now. Alright, so I've already programmed a pattern here into Gate Nouveau. You can see we've got a couple of things on the first few tracks. And down below, I have loaded up my DAW's drum machine with various samples, and it's ready to go. Now the thing that I want to do is I want to take care of a couple of things. And the first is I want to make sure that when Gate Nouveau runs, it's running at the same BPM as my DAW. And the way to do that is up here on the transport. I'm going to grab sync out and I'm going to patch that into clock. Now you can see as soon as I did that, down here on the bottom right of the LCD, you can see it snapped to 110 BPM, which is exactly what my DAW is set to. And as I adjust this, Gate Nouveau will respond accordingly. All right, cool. Now the other thing I want to set up is whenever I press play here in my DAW, I want Gate Nouveau to start playing too. So I'm going to take play gate and I'm going to patch that to play. Now the third thing is very important, and if you don't do this, the timing will get all off, and that is reset. So we need to tell Gate Nouveau to reset its playhead whenever we basically start playing in the DAW. There's two ways that you can do this. You can either patch play to reset, or you can patch stop. And which you do is a matter of preference. The difference is this: it's when the reset will happen. Do you want it to reset as soon as you start playing, or do you want it to reset whenever it's finished playing? It's up to you. They both work. All right, so let's just test this out real quick. So I'm going to hit play here in my DAW, and you can see that sure enough we start playing and it's running at the right speed. Now as soon as I hit play again, you can see that the cursor jumps back to the start because we have set up this reset. So that's important. If you don't include that, the timing won't quite be right. All right, now the next thing we likely want is I want to take this step data and I want to pipe it out to my DAW. And the easiest way to do that is to send it out over MIDI. So I'm going to use the MIDI output module here in my library. I'm going to take MIDI out, I'm going to route that to MIDI in, and then on the MIDI out module, I'm going to select send to DAW host. So with our MIDI out setup, I'm going to hit play here in my DAW. Nice. And so you can see that what is happening is we're taking this data and we're sending it out to the DAW. All right, so there's one more thing that you probably would like to control from your DAW in Gate Nouveau, and that is which pattern is being played. We haven't talked about patterns and the pattern jack a whole lot. We'll cover those in future videos, but let me just show you how that works if you happen to be playing with patterns already. So in my library here, I'm going to go to DC source. Now DC source just basically grants you a knob, and this knob converts to voltage out. But I'll show you why this is going to be valuable in a second. We're going to patch DC source out to pattern input. Now one thing that might be slightly confusing here is if you start turning the knob, you might be thinking it's not changing the patterns. The pattern will only change when the sequencer is running, so just something to keep in mind. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to right click on this DC amount knob, and I'm going to go to automation assign, and I'm going to pick number 1. Now if you've never used this before, what's happening here is this is a way for you to assign any knob in Voltage Modular to be allowed to be automated by your DAW. So we'll say DC source, Gate Nouveau, pattern. We'll just type that in there. Done. All right. So with that set up, let me now show you. Over here in my DAW, I'm going to do what's specific to Bitwig, but there's probably a slightly different thing you would want to do for your DAW. I'm going to add an automation lane for this, and so now you see here that this lane will control what the pattern is. And I'm just going to maybe do something simple like that. All right, so let me zoom out. Now watch what happens here. As I play the cursor, this DAW automation line, it will follow this and it will change which pattern is active in Gate Nouveau. All right, so that was probably a bit much. Obviously that was really fast. If you were doing this for real, you would want to very carefully place these. But the main idea there, as you can see, is that from an automation lane, we can control which pattern is playing within Gate Nouveau. Now, this can be really useful as you're moving through song parts or just adding interesting modulation to whatever it is that you're working on.